Wait, so they cornered you after the sparring match? The human man next to Zevlor swore and clicked his tongue in annoyance. Damn cowards. Sarek led the charge, so I'm honestly not surprised. He adjusted his chest plate, grumbling as his claws caught the metal and thick fabric beneath. She's never liked me, Lou. She's jealous, that's why. The paladin-to-be looked back, a dark eyebrow raised. His brother had always been like this, countering anything Zevlor said, whether he truly meant it or not. The banter often resulted in one of them getting in trouble with the higher-ups. If Zevlor had learned anything from knowing the spearman for so long, it was to let things roll off his back. Easier said than done, but at least he made the attempt. What? Lucius asked, raising his own eyebrow. You work hardest out of any of us, Zev. The tiefling snorted in response to this statement, but remained quiet. Ignoring the fact that they had the balls to think they could intimidate you, he reached up to readjust his top knot and grinned. And you said Ekris showed up. Zevlor nodded as they returned the corner, the bustle of the city growing louder as they continued onwards towards its centre. Sarek and Emil put up a good front, but I'm pretty sure Varen might have started crying if they hadn't been excused when they were. Ha! I would have loved to have seen that. What did he say? A mischievous glint twinkled in his brother's eyes. Very little before he had them running for the exit. The tiefling chuckled, remembering the scene. But he did tell me that I'm taking my paladin oaths in a 10-day. Lucius turned on him fully, the biggest grin spreading from ear to ear. No shit! Congratulations! He wrapped an arm around his shoulder and tugged on one of his large horns playfully. I knew you'd get called up soon. Zevlor laughed with his friend, letting him manhandle him around the street until the ranger deemed it a reasonable amount of time and saw fit to let him go. They paused briefly to chat with the fruit merchant, the idle conversation mostly filled by Lucius. His gentle, albeit slightly scarred face and jovial tone, it was hard not to keep talking with him. As his friend carried on, talking about an increase in tax, or the weather, or something Zevlor hadn't really been paying attention to, his gaze caught a familiar sight. The shining auburn hair of a woman that he had met the other day. Arian, Aurora. She turned, her face smiling in the bright sun, as she handed a child one of her flowered jars. Auralia. A smile twitched at the edges of his lips as he watched her flit from person to person, handing out jars and taking payment in kind. He looked back to the fruit merchant's selection. Most had been picked clean by now, with the last of the afternoon sun still heavy in the sky, but that didn't take away from the heat. As Lucius finished with his mostly one-sided conversation, Zevlor held out a gold piece to the stout dwarf behind the stall. A couple slices of sun melon, please. The dwarf nodded and swiftly sliced up a small melon, wrapping up 2 pieces in a swath of waxed cloth. She took the coin with a dip of her head in acknowledgement and passed him the juicy fruit. Hungry? We just ate those 2 hand pies not 30 minutes ago, Zev, his friend teased with a light-hearted laugh. Should I warn the cook she'll go back to sneaking extra rations if you don't get more at dinner? Oh, shut it, Lou. He thwacked him on the shin with his long tail. These aren't for me. He nodded ahead to where Auralia stood at her stall. They're for her.